everybody. We have a very special guest here today. You all know her, of course, from her life-changing art. We've all seen her in Scandal and Little Fires Everywhere and Insecure, which she directed a couple. American Son, oh my God. The Fight, which all of you need to go see if you need to.
It's on Hulu right now. The Fight is on Hulu.
It's on Hulu, which is really just kind of an incredible dive into the administration's attack on human rights, from abortion rights to the Muslim ban, all of it so beautifully done, Kerry.
Thank you.
But what I need the rest of you guys to know about this Kerry woman is that what many of us have discovered in the last year or so is that she's just this warrior for democracy. She has gathered people in such a relentless, creative, measured, passionate way. I mean, Kerry, I don't know if you know this, but now when there's calls with artists and you're not there, people say, wait, what did Kerry say? What did Kerry say? What did Kerry say?
Oh God. I have to tell you, I really love democracy. I love the idea of it. I love that everybody gets a voice and everybody gets a vote. And I will tell you, this is like the best testament to this truth for me. When I read the pilot script for Scandal, I loved the character of Olivia Pope so much. And I thought like, oh my God, she's so aspirational. Like everybody wants to be her. And she's flawed. Like she's sleeping with a married man, but like, who cares? She's still amazing. When I felt totally betrayed by her was when I realized that she had stolen an election. Like that's when I cried. I didn't cry because she was like destroying a marriage. I cried because she was destroying a democracy. I was like, this is really good information for what matters to me.
But we say you have to pay attention to what breaks your heart.
Yes.
And go towards it.
That's right. That's right. So here we are. I'm like out here begging people to understand that every vote counts and that we have to count every vote. That's my mantra.
And that is what we are here for. So Kerry, you invited me to a meeting that we were at last week where you shared such incredible information. And I just sat there thinking, I need my community, this amazing group of people who have been showing up every single day to hear what you are saying, because we are all worried about election day. As someone who deals with anxiety, I don't know how I would have made it through election day without hearing what you told me in this last meeting. So what I want to ask you to explain to this community is that it is clear to me that our election day coming up might look very different than election days in the past. So can you explain to us why and what we might need to expect?
Sure. First of all, thank you. This is amazing. And you do have such a powerful community. So thank you to everybody who's watching and listening, because you really do know your power, which is super exciting. Everything about the election in 2020 is different. But the main thing I want you to know is that the idea of election day, you have to say bye-bye in your brain. There's no election day. This is election season. And I mean, the election is happening now, because in a lot of places you can vote early. So don't wait. Going early is so important. The election is now. We are in election season, and election season may go a little longer than election day. And I say that to say that in a lot of states like Texas, Georgia, California, New York, people don't even start counting absentee mail-in ballots until election day. So, and people are voting absentee ballot and voting by mail in record numbers. I mean, 5 million people in the United States have already voted early. So it's going to take us some time to count every one of those votes. If we don't have an answer on election night, and we may not have an answer on election night, that's okay.
But because of the pandemic, 51% of voters are voting by mail.
Yes.
So that's 50 million voters, right? So even though Trump himself and over 20 members of his family and administration have routinely voted by mail, he has made unfounded claims that voting by mail opens up the election to fraud. So, Kerry, why has he been saying this? And how does that play into what may unfold on election night?
It's super important to know voting by mail works. Elected officials vote by mail because they don't live, they're not often in their home state. Our military votes by mail. We've gone through the Depression, 2 world wars, and people have voted. These things have not gotten in the way of our votes. So there are ways to vote safely and securely, but we have to hold our systems accountable, right? We have to let them know that it's not important to us that we have an answer quickly, which I think in this day and age, we're so used to like quick answers right away. Give it to me now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remind our elected officials that we want every vote counted. We want an accurate, true count in this election, not a quick one, not a quick fix. And Trump is really, he's making these unfounded claims for a lot of reasons, but the reality is that a lot of the votes that are coming in by vote by mail are Democratic votes at a much higher percentage than Republican votes. So it's great to say that the ones that are coming in early and coming in by mail are invalid. That works for one party more than it does for another. We just want to be fair.
Right, right. So if it looks like on election night that Trump has more votes, right? It is very likely, knowing the chaotic nature of things right now, that the election could be called by Trump.
That's right. That's
what
right.
we need to remember is what? Even if that happens.
We need to remember that what we see on election night is not the result of election season, right? That 65% of Democrats have said that they're voting by mail, while only 35% of Republicans have said that they plan to vote by mail. So what we see on election night is not the full picture. And we've actually been urging a lot of the networks and news sources, journalists, to commit to not calling the election early and to providing a full picture on election night of what election season holds, right? Like if you're reporting numbers that are coming in, are you also letting people know that a vast majority of the votes have yet to be counted? That's important information. So as we're absorbing the news, we have to ask ourselves that question to make sure that we're not getting pulled into misinformation.
So we know, one of the things that helps me manage my anxiety, Kerry, is we know that what might happen is that it might look on election night like Trump has more votes because so many more Republicans vote in person than Democrats.
Yes.
Trump might call the election early, right? Because that's a strategy, but that's okay because we also have our strategy that we know ahead of time. Ours is that we continue to say, no, every vote counts, so count every vote.
That's right. And that narrative, that mantra, that messaging needs to be going out everywhere. It's part of why we're doing this big special on CBS on Thursday, where we're really spreading the word that every vote counts and that we must count every vote, because we really want people to begin to take that message to their friends and family. Because listen, Glennon, you can tell people, I can tell people, but all the research says the best person to share information and affect change around voting behavior is you all out there. Like your friends and family and neighbors, they're going to listen to you. You are a trusted source, more than me, more than you, right? So like you guys out there, you really have the power to transform the narrative in your communities, in your circles, in your families, to tell people this is what might happen on election night. We have to be patient.
Okay, we can do that if we will not even consider despair on election day, because that's just the middle. It could just be the middle of the election, right?
That's right. And also there will be folks like Glennon, like myself, who also will be turning an eye on social media toward the election officials all across the country who are going to be making those decisions the day after election night, the week after election night, right? Like they're going to be making the call on whether or not to consider these votes, whether or not to consider those votes. And we have to be paying attention and spreading the word to each other to say like, hey, all eyes on this particular county in North Carolina, all eyes on this particular county in Georgia, because we want them to know that we care about our democracy, that we care about our fellow Americans. And we're saying in a nonpartisan way, we want all the votes to be counted. That's it. That's all we're asking for. If you feel like you have to cheat to win this election, that's a very clear message about what is right for the people. Let the people vote. Let the people's votes count.
Olivia Pope might be all right with an unfair election, but Kerry Washington is not.
I am not. I am not.
She is not. You are one of the women that I respect most in the entire world. the way
Oh
that
my
you use your
goodness.
platform and your voice and that big, beautiful brain of yours. And I just feel
Well,
like maybe
it
someday I'll
means
be on
so
your
much.
campaign.
Oh, it means so much coming from you. And honestly, like these warriors of yours, like you guys are you're such a source of love and light and goodness in the world. And so I so appreciate you even devoting a section of your hearts to this election, because it really does matter, right? Like us seeing each other and hearing each other and making room for all of our voices to matter. It's what democracy, it's what will protect our democracy and allow it to thrive. And I know I just want to live in a country where we really do get to express our values through our vote, and where that expression is heard. So that's why we have to count every vote. And it's why we have to stand up for each other and demand that all the votes are counted, even in the counties where people may not reflect our values. Like if I believe that if we're just all allowed to vote, that we'll wind up in the right place.
So good. All right. So our action for the day is going to be understand this narrative, understand what to expect, understand our reaction to any early calls, and then share this message with everyone that you know and love. That's an act of service, explaining to people what to expect on election day and what we must demand as a democracy, that every vote counts. Share this video, or if your people don't like me and Kerry, just call them and tell them yourself.
That's right.
Okay?
And join us for our celebration of democracy. Every vote counts on CBS Thursday at 9. It'll be a really easy way to get this narrative across without sounding like you're preaching. Just have people watch a really fun show with you that has amazing performers like Alicia Keys and Jennifer Lopez.
Well, you, my whole family. There's no greater joy for me than to do activism and democracy fighting that is done from my couch. So
yes,
I will be couching.
Yes. Civic joy.
Kerry, go do all the million other things you have planned today to save our democracy. We adore you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Bye.